let's talk a little bit about yesterday, just because we need to kind of tick it off, really. There was a lot of talk in the week about players stepping up, but it didn't happen. That was a new low for me yesterday. That first 25 minutes gave us a bit of an insight into the afternoon ahead, and it was pretty turgid from start to finish, Steve.
Yeah, for the most part, we had a couple of little flurries, didn't we? There was like a 5-minute spell in the first half where Cienza kind of grabbed things as we kind of hoped he would. But then they shut him down, and he then tried to beat everybody on his own, which I think is the fear that probably most people had, that when he is the only guy that's able to create everything, you have 10 other players who are shirking their responsibility, and they'll say, yeah, go on, mate, you deal with that creative stuff and we'll stand by and watch. And that's what they did. And eventually Preston realised that was the case, and they stuck 3 men on him. So he became less and less effective, and he got more and more irritated and slightly distracted by the end of it, I think. So yeah, not ideal. But then second half we had that little spell after the substitutions. Yander hit the bar. Unbelievable save by the goalkeeper, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's the way these things go. I mean,
it was an unbelievable hit as well. I've watched it a couple of times. I don't know where to look. Do I watch the hit again? Do I watch the save again? It's like, what's going on?
Perfectly hit. And I'm sure he basically, when that ball left his foot, Yander was inside. He was celebrating. It was like, yes, I've absolutely nailed this. But yeah, Everson with a fantastic save, and by all accounts, he's been doing that all season for them. I mean, that's all 3 relegated teams from the Premier League they've beaten already this season.
Yeah, very impressive stat, that, isn't it? I know all 3 of them are like a shambles, but that is good work.
Yeah,
and not only that, they've also beaten Sheffield United, who are the only other team in receipt of parachute payments.
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought about that. It did turn a little bit nasty as well, Glenn. They made a few changes at half time, but it just nothing really was going to happen at all, was it? Yesterday was one of those days.
The second half team more resembled what he should have put out at the start. The three at the back again, waste of time. But then you could counter that and say that we didn't look any better in the second half. With more or less the team that I would have put out. To be honest, there were so many things that were wrong, and you have to start. I mean, it's a difficult one to talk about because the chanting started after about 25 minutes, was it? There was some shambles down the left hand side where we gave the ball away 3 times or something. Then the chanting started. Now, the chanting it's a lot of people, so you can't dismiss it as being silly or anything like that, because there's a lot of people. They obviously feel strongly enough to do that. Did it help what was going on the pitch? No, it didn't, because within 30 seconds, I don't think we touched the ball in between that starting and the goal going in. And let's talk about that goal. I mean, that summed up everything. I think there were 5 mistakes in that goal. There was, off the top of my head, there was allowing the cross to come into the box unchallenged in the first place. We had 7 players in the penalty area, plus the goalkeeper.
2, I think.
They had 2 strikers, so that the ball comes in far too easily. Don't know where Ryan Manning was. Don't know where he ever is. There were 4 players on the edge of the box. If you freeze frame at the point the ball comes into the box, we've got 4 players on the edge of the box, ball watching, not marking, not doing anything.
When they're all stood literally in the space of about like a 5-yard square, aren't they? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, what are they doing? Harwood-Bellis misses the ball as it comes across. Ronnie Edwards just gets rolled out of the way pathetically, and Mats Rorsleff is hilarious. He just stands there watching, doesn't get involved at all. He's behind Edwards. He just stands there, doesn't sense the danger, doesn't see a problem, just stands there. He doesn't move until he walks back to the halfway line to kick off again. So it's pathetic. And on that goal, I felt a bit sorry for McCarthy. He was the only one who actually tried to stop it. And it's just so many things wrong with that goal. People being in position but not actually doing anything. Too many central defenders not taking responsibility. It's just people not sensing the danger. It's just absolutely pathetic. And that killed the rest of the first half. He changed it at half time. Fellows and Robinson sort of briefly livened things up a bit, running at people. But I think we only had the one shot from Casper Yander. But I mean, the other thing I'd like to praise their goalkeeper for, 93rd minute, he catches a cross, and instead of flopping on the ground and wasting time and all that, he saw that Preston could run the ball up our end of the pitch and kill more time that way, and they got a goal from it, directly from the goalkeeper, just catching the ball, throwing it out quickly. And so fair play to him, and fair play to Preston for still having the attitude that they were going to, 3 or 4 of them were going to break forward. I mean, again, I think Alfie mentioned the subs just being thrown on. No real. I mean, the one where he took Flynn Downs off and put Damien Downs on. From that moment on, we were all over the place.
Not only that, Glenn, but he then brought a central midfielder on for somebody else, like 2 minutes later.
Yeah, it should have been. It should have been a Rebo coming on for Flynn Downs straight away to at least preserve some sort of normality. But he brings Fellows on the wing and then puts him at right back, and then Joe Robinson gets slotted into the centre of midfield. I mean, for God's sake, it's. And Preston obviously says this. It's been mentioned that they're a side who knew what they were doing, and and they had the attitude to flood forward through the non-existent defence and right back area, and scored that second goal. So fair play to them. And they I think that Paul Heckingbottom said afterwards it was like the perfect away performance. And I'll just caveat that and say it's the perfect away performance against a team that's in complete shambles and just generally very, very bad.
Is that one of the worst games you've covered, Alfie? Is that like a new low for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously 10 times better in my position, as I always say, because I'm not paying for the privilege. So I recognise that. But it is hard. It's hard right now. It's like this is as bad as it's been, and it's so negative every day, and you're desperate for somebody to give you something to cling on to. And I'm sure fans will feel the same way. But I'm happy to be as positive as I humanly can be in a time like this because I want them to do well. I want to have something to grip onto and say that worked. That could be better, but it's not. It's just an utter shower of shit. Like it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen in a football match ever. And I can't believe that we're getting worse every week, which is why the Will Steele sacking doesn't come as like a massive surprise. Even though I thought they'd maybe go a little bit longer just because the performances have been so bad. But I think I thought Glenn made a really good point about the fan chanting. One of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. Actually, like it was a period of maybe 4 or 5 different phases of play. Every single time the players either kicked it straight out of play, passed it to the opposition, kicked it off someone's backside, did some just bollocksed it up sort of 4 or 5 times in a row, and that's why the fans turned. That's why the fans started to chant. But to then concede the opening goal within about like Glenn says, 25 seconds, I've not seen anything like that before. Like that was incredible, and it summed up where this team are at, I think, because they said they got scared. They sensed it. They sensed the fear.
It gave them the excuse to say, well, not our problem. The players have clearly identified where the problem is, and it's not us. Great.
Yeah, it's a dream for them, isn't it? They're buzzing with that. Yeah, very low.
After the game, Steve, we've got Nathan Wood seen arguing with a fan. He's issued an apology today. That's another thing to tick off the bingo card of being so bloody low, isn't it? When you've got fans. We saw it with Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and then you think, well, at least we're not as bad as that. And then we've got our own little version going on.
And it is quite interesting to see Wolves have actually got a worse record at the current point this season than we did last season. So there's something to cling our, so sort of hang our hats on that possibly there might be a 10-point season for somebody on. But yeah, I think with that sort of scenario where Wood has very clearly pointed at somebody, an individual in the stand, I'd want to know what that person said to him to provoke that, because I think there's a line, there's quite a well-defined line, I think, where fan sort of opprobrium and sort of abuse to players just because they happen to be the first one, kind of the nearest one to them, is kind of a little bit fair game in terms of you pay your money, you get to voice your opinion. But then there is obviously a line where if you step beyond that, where it becomes specifically targeted and personal and potentially any other kind of nasty sort of scenario, then I think any player's got absolute right to have a go back.
Yeah.
But we don't know what was said.
And we'll never know, will we? That's the thing.
And Wood has come out and apologised. Hopefully that's the end of it. I mean, he had an absolute stinker yesterday, which is unfortunate because he's probably been our most consistent player so far this season. But yeah, he was absolutely rotten. But yeah, not ideal. But as you say, tick it off the bingo card. It's a symptom of the situation. Those things tend to happen to teams that are in the shambles that we are, sort of on and off the pitch.
The other thing I was just going to ask, Glenn, I mean, we're all kind of been around long enough to remember like that 2008, 2009 season. And that was pretty dire. And for some of us, we kind of couldn't see the way out of that. And there are some similarities. We changed the manager, that's fine, but you can't change the squad. And that worries me a bit.
That was the season we nearly went bust and went down to League One.
Yeah. You might be dusting.
We did beat Preston that season, though.
Well, the thing is, we went
home and away, I think.
We went down with Norwich that year, if I remember rightly, and that's why I'm looking at the table thinking, "Oh God, we should be looking over our shoulder." Yes, it was. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's many. I don't think there's seriously a comparison with that season. In that season, that was, if memory serves, that's the one where Rupert Lowe decided that we were going to try and do it with kids straight out of the academy who were 18, 19. So we had a very young Morgan Schneiderlin, I believe. He was like 18. We had Adam Lallana was 17, 18 or something like that. And we had players like Ollie Lancashire who were, never good enough and stuff like that. So we just plummeted in that season. Jan Portvliet in charge, my word. I mean, if you want
as well, wasn't it, for the second?
You want to compile a list of dodgy managers we've had. Then Jan Portvliet. I like arguing the point about Ian Branfoot, and I say Ian Branfoot isn't even in our top 5 of worst managers when you look at
not even close.
Not
even
close.
Got to a cup final.
Yeah, when you yes, and you remember which one it was. No, so I mean, I don't actually. In terms of the squad, they can fix it in January, but it's going to be a rough ride until then. As I said, we do have some players who can be decent, but I'm very questioning of the collective attitude. And just something Steve said earlier that I'm thinking about. When we lost the game to Hull, that was the game where all what you'd call the big players, if you like, the Harwood-Bellis, Stevens, I think Flynn Downs as well. Might not be right about that one. I think it was after that game they all got dropped. So I do wonder if that was a turning point for, players turning against him, because that would roughly fit the timeline where you kind of think is where things started to go very south.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
There's maybe some of the illnesses. Do you think maybe now we look back on it and go, maybe that wasn't quite as honest as we thought?
Well, who can say? I mean, Alfie clearly thinks he can because he said so last week. But I don't know. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's been some stuff going on behind the scenes. Player manager conflict. I mean, Jack Stevens is an interesting one. Someone sort of like asked me to make this point. And I wasn't gonna do it, but it's kind of come up. We are crying out for leaders. Anyone can see that leadership on the pitch to stop games going south when they start sometimes reasonably well. Jack Stevens, we gave him this contract. This was mentioned. He's the leader. We are quiet. Jack Stevens ain't got near the football pitch. I mean, he played that 5 minutes in midfield where he didn't touch the ball a couple of weeks ago. But he's not been near the football pitch. He's been the 5th choice centre half ever since he came
under the bus, didn't he?
Ever since he came out of the team. So, what's going on there? What's going on? Harwood-Bellis was much worse against Hull, but he's found his way, back into the team. Rightly so, probably. But where is Jack Stevens? What's gone on there? So has there been some sort of conflict with the manager? I know they both said. I know Steele said no. That there wasn't a problem, but he's going to say that, isn't he? he's hardly going to say I've fallen out with the club captain. So
It's a
what's
clean
happened
slate
there?
for everybody now, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but you
How
just
many clean slates have we had now?
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to ask,
that's an entire roof of clean slates. Isn't it?
does this affect Alfie? Just I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. Does this affect the balance sheet and what players we can bring in? Because this is, it's another expensive mistake, isn't it? And this is going to be another outlay of cash that they weren't expecting. And I don't know what Will Still and his staff were on, but it's it's probably going to be a couple of million maybe to pay them all out. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what Will Still's wages would be. Literally zero idea. And I don't care. But yeah, obviously it will cost them, and so will paying someone's release clause if they get someone who's in a job. Obviously, if they get someone who's a free agent, it won't. But yeah, it will do. It's unnecessary expense. But we've been in this place a number of times now, so I imagine that Dragan's getting a little bit used to it. Unfortunately,
more unnecessary expense. I kind of want to move on to the QPR game. Anything else on Will Still, on the manager? Anything else on yesterday that I might have missed?
Well, I think on the Nathan Wood thing, I know we've spoken about it, but I do think that it's just he's apologised and you move on, sort of thing. At that point, there are bigger problems than Nathan Wood, for sure. And yeah, who knows what was said to him? It's obviously not right. You shouldn't do that. It's a bad look for everybody. But yeah, I'm more than happy to move on with that one.
Oh, just on the gutlessness of the players. I mean, Will Still was the one person connected to the first team who got nearest to the northern stand at full time, and he went about 5 yards closer than the sort of edge of the centre circle.
But they straight down the tunnel.
Not one of the players went closer than about 3 yards from halfway. Just pathetic. Grow a pair. Go up to the fan base. Take your medicine, as we said last week. Take your medicine, and then go down the tunnel and forget about it and sort yourselves out. It's not difficult, and people would have a hell of a lot more respect for them if they did so. As it is, that respect is in the gutter at the moment. There's nothing there for people to work with right now.
Does anybody genuinely fear about finishing in the bottom three?
No.
Yeah,
Not.
you don't.
Yes and no. Not at the moment, but the way things were going, the way things have gone the last three games, I don't think this team, and the way that we're going about games, I don't think they're capable of beating anybody, to be honest. So I guess that answers the question. But when you look at it from the outside and just look at this squad of players, yeah, they're dickheads, a lot of them, but they're not a bottom three in the championship squad. But
we kind of felt that before.
No, they're definitely not a bottom three in the championship squad. That's 100% true. They're absolutely not. But are the conditions that are currently surrounding the club, conducive to that? Quite possibly. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it'll actually happen, but they are a basket case.
Yeah, I'm not sure the way we're, the way we're setting up and the way we're playing, the way the players are performing at the moment is enough to win many games in the championship. But I mean, the target at the start of this season was obviously to get promoted again. Yeah. I think that's gone. I do think that's gone. You can't write off the first half of the season and still have that. So I mean, at the moment, I'd take finishing 14th and one place above Portsmouth. To be honest, that'd do. Then we roll on to next season.
They're looking ropey again all of a sudden, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the only consolation, and they're. I mean, we're majorly deflecting here talking about them, but
let's move on.
It's quite nice. It's quite nice to see John Mousinho being an arsehole and it all catching up with him.